and then the inspector yelled over to the pocket-pack man to come over. But the man was in a daze. So the inspector just yelled louder a few more times, and he eventually snapped to and came over. This is what he had to say.
I first met the words when we were all teenagers. I remember it vividly. I was in the middle of conducting an initiation ceremony for the new Magi neophytes. There were only 3 others besides myself, and we were standing just inside the gates to Melchior's palace when Misty and Moxie strolled on up and interrupted our ceremony. Misty opened the gate, ran up to me, grabbed my head, and kissed me right on the lips. Moxie waited at the gate. None of us had any idea as to what was going on, but that's just how Misty was, extremely forward. She told me she thought I looked cute and she wanted to be a part of what we were doing. I welcomed her and her brother to Melchior's palace and added 2 more to our initiation ceremony. She said she liked my attire. I had a few of my mom's fine fabrics draped over my shoulders and was also wearing my mom's fancy bathrobe. We started dating after that day. Everything significant that happened in our relationship took place in Melchior's palace, starting with that first time we met, along with that first kiss. It was really just my backyard clubhouse, but I called it Melchior's palace because of the plethora of Melchior statues that I had propped up throughout the place. See, every Christmas, me and the other Magi neophytes would go out into the middle of the night and steal one of the wise men, Melchior to be exact, from the neighboring yard's nativity scenes. But we didn't really see it as stealing, more like swapping, because we would leave a Mr. Potato Head toy either in its place, or, if the empty baby Jesus bed was big enough, we would put the Mr. Potato Head in the Jesus bed. This was not a cheap endeavor. When it was all said and done, I had 111 Melchiors in Melchior's palace. Different shapes and sizes and colors lining the walls, the counters, the shelves, even the bathroom. My clubhouse was basically a room with a bed, a bathroom, and a game room. Eventually, as the years went on, more and more of the neighbors started using the pieces where all 3 wise men were in a single statue, and that just didn't work for what I was trying to do. I was building Melchior's Persian palace, and neither Balthazar nor Gaspar fit the decor. I had no interest in herbs or spices like frankincense or myrrh. It was all about the gold. But eventually the palace just got too full, and most of the neophytes had moved on with their lives. In my later teens, it was pretty much just Misty and I that hung out at the palace. Her brother Moxie would come by occasionally just to say hi, but he didn't really care for me. I used to call him the King's Fool because he was always such a joker. He preferred to be called the King's Jester, but I just always liked Fool better. Misty and I fell in love in Melchior's palace. We had our first real kiss inside Melchior's palace, and I remember thinking, oh, that's what a tongue feels like. Crazy. We smoked weed for the first time there. We had our first acid trip there, our first shroom trip, our first taste of alcohol. And, of course, we had sex for, well, both of the first times in Melchior's palace. The not that real time and the really real time. But we didn't have sex all that often there. I remember she would always get freaked out that the Melchiors were always watching, staring at us making love. One time I even turned every one of them that were in the bedroom around to face the wall. Except for the one that was nailed to the floor, which I just draped fine fabric over. But that didn't help. Well, it helped her, but it didn't really help me. And eventually, she ended up dumping me. She said I was too clingy, like I was the one that ran into her life and started kissing her. A few months after that, I saw her with some jock who lived down the street from me. I remember that I had thought hard for about a week about what I was going to do to that guy's nativity scene come Christmas time. I had paint, I had eggs, I had glue. I was ready to destroy the birth of Jesus at this schmuck's house. I waited till the dead of night and walked down to his house with a bucket full of mischief and a flashlight. And when I got to his lawn, I shined my light over the manger where the wise men were, and I saw a single statue of Gaspar and a single statue of Balthazar, and standing right beside them was a single Mr. Potato Head, holding on to a fake piece of gold. And I just smiled and walked away.